Morning, everybody. The 9:15 is just getting out, so we're going to start here in probably 5 minutes. So if everybody wouldn't mind kind of scooting together if you can, there's going to be a bunch of people coming over. So anyway, about 5 minutes, and then also the 11:15 service will obviously start a few minutes late. So anyway, about 5 minutes. Well, good morning, everybody. We're glad you're here. I'm Dan Meyer, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the senior warden of the vestry this year. After a few months of searching and having experienced several services here, we felt a strong pull towards St. Martin's. No doubt this was God's guiding hand at work. We ultimately went through the Membership 101 class. Neil was confirmed here. Our children, George and Millie, were baptized here. And we've been involved with the Moms Group, the Dad's Bible Study, and the Usher Ministry, to name a few. We have forged deep relationships here. Over our time at St. Martin's, there have been periods of happiness and sorrow, certainty and uncertainty. But no matter the situation, this parish has always been a place of solace for our family under your steady and unwavering leadership, Russ. And we couldn't be more grateful to be part of this community. And Laura, as I've heard Russ say a few times, his secret sauce is you. Your wise counsel, guidance, and love have helped shepherd him in his ministry here. So thank you both for your commitment these past 17 years. And with that said, I'll turn over the program to Russ's original search committee chair and a longtime friend of the Levensons, Scott McLean.
Russ, Laura, come on up. All right, this is just a fireside chat. It's just the three of us, and no one else is here. Give you a hug, too, before we get started, in case you don't like this.
Where do you want us?
For the record, I preached a short sermon at the 9:15.
Yeah.
So for the record, those of you who were 9:15, it was a short sermon.
Well, they've never given me one of these before.
Well, now you're on the spot.
Just don't play with it.
So about 6 weeks ago, to get ready for this, I sent a letter out, an email to 8 folks, and they each sent me back letters to celebrate Russ and Laura. And they're special letters, and I'm going to tell you briefly who they're from, but I like their words better than mine. And so I'm going to use their words to help guide us through this time together. And I wouldn't normally need a big stack of papers to have an intimate conversation with 2 dear friends, but I want you to hear their words. And then we have 2 original copies of all these letters, one for your keepsake book and one to frame if you like. And so you've got some fun stuff coming, in addition to some fun stuff when we finish. And I want to remind you what he said. We're going to start, the 11:15 is going to start at 11:30. So Russ needs to relax, and we're
and given the length of the sermon,
and those going to the 11:30, it'll end when it ends. So just buckle up. Okay. So the letters are from, in no particular order, President George Bush, our 43rd president, the Archbishop of Canterbury, George Carey, Secretary James Baker, the Bishop of the Diocese of Texas, Andy Doyle, the presiding Bishop of the Episcopal Church of the United States, Michael Curry, our dear, wonderful guest teachers and preachers, Jim Jackson and Dave Peterson, Max Lucado and Bishop Mike Hill, all of whom have been regular visitors here throughout the years. And it was fascinating to me. They responded to my request almost instantly, and with great joy, as you would expect. So Russ and Laura, I want to start with about 17 years ago. It was either this, and I didn't look back, it was either this weekend or next weekend, was when you all came and the search committee extended to you an invitation to come to St. Martin's as the 4th rector of our parish. It's referred to as the call. It's referred to as the call, and it was Jeff Parsons, who was the senior warden at the time, and I sat with you at the Omni Hotel. It was really a special moment, and I think about what an honor it was to be there at that moment and to be here at this moment, which is this farewell celebration. And I just wanted to ask you to reflect on these two moments, important moments in our life as a church and important moments I know to you all. And Laura, I wanted to start with you, just to reflect on those two moments.
Well, when it got to the point, is this really loud?
That's okay.
You're
Okay.
good. I think you all are good, aren't you?
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Well, when we realized that it had gotten to the point where we felt like we started to feel that it was a true call for our family, and that was a point in our lives we still were raising our children. We had 2 in college, 1 in junior high, and so it really was a hard decision because we were going the wrong direction away from our family. But when you feel God's call so clearly as we did to come here, you know, there's only one answer to that. And we knew just from the times we'd experienced it before in Lafayette and Pensacola and Birmingham. I mean, we knew that God was faithful and that he was not going to lead us astray. So we embraced it with joy. And now sitting here, I mean, in some ways it really truly feels like it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
I can't believe how much time has gone by. But we still are looking forward. We were looking forward then to all the things that we would share with this parish and his ministry, of course. And but we're looking forward also to what God has in store for us, because he's always faithful.
Thank you, Laura. Russ, how do you put those two moments together?
What she said.
Yeah. Ditto?
I've been doing a lot of that the last few weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I've said this in a couple of settings. I mean, how fortunate, how blessed we feel. There's not been, and I've said this to you all several times, you know, there's not been a day when I ever thought we made the wrong decision or this wasn't the place we were supposed to be. I've loved every single day of working here and serving with you. And I think it's important to say, you know, there have been hard days, there have been long days, there have been days that are very sad, but lots of celebration moments and lots of wonderful moments. And as Scott, as you know, and as my family who's on the front row here know, so that my daughter Evie, my son Jones, Russell Jones III, are here. We're not going to call them out, but I just did. But I'm not going to make them stand. My dad and his wife Trudy, who married during COVID, I've told that story publicly, which is a wonderful blessing that happened during COVID. And then many of you have heard me talk about my best friend, the psychiatrist, John Schuster. He's here, so, which is really good. I need some time with you this afternoon. He flew in as a surprise last night from Nashville. And, but I do remember we did not know that we were the call. We just didn't know where it was in the process. And when Jeff and Scott called to meet over at the Omni, and I think I've said to you a couple of times, we met in the bar, which is where you call people in the Episcopal Church. But the way in which Scott and Jeff so wonderfully and tenderly invited us to accept that call brought us all to tears at that moment. And but then I did say, I said, we're going to have to pray about the call. And Scott said, well, how long is that going to take? And I said, well, it won't be today. And it wasn't. It was a couple of weeks, I think, before we called in it.
I encouraged him to have a little giddy up about his prayer. So.
But when we said yes, as hard as it was, we knew it was the right thing. And it has been every day.
Well, there were tears that day, and there will be tears today, and there have been tears in between. But those two moments, very, very special moments in the life of our church and in the life of us. So, let me toggle now. I want to toggle to Bishop Andy Doyle's letter. He says, "Together, you and your parishioners have grown your church through evangelism and service to others, the mission of God. The expansion, new buildings, the Hope and Healing Center, and many ministries that today thrive are but vessels of God's grace." Russ, you know, when we met in Pensacola to kind of do the interview, the official interview of one of several, I told you that the parish had done a survey and that there were 3 kind of aspirations that the parish had. One was the Great Commission, bringing folks to Christ. The second was ministering to families and Christian education. And the third was focusing on people and families that have been broken by life's circumstances. And it was that third one, I remember when I said it, your eyes lit up, and you went right to that. And that's what became the Hope and Healing Center. Talk a little bit about the Hope and Healing Center in this journey.
Yeah, well, you all know me. I can be loquacious, so I'm going to try not to be as loquacious as I normally am. I should say that, during the search process getting here, and every year along the way, Scott has been a faithful shepherd to us. We told a very small circle about this decision in November of last year, and Scott was actually number 2, I think. And then he said, you probably ought to talk to the bishop too. But he's been a very good and continues to be a good friend and a good shepherd, and was throughout that process. And yeah, we didn't know, looking at the scope of everything that was already happening at St. Martin's, for those of you who remember us here 18 years ago. I think Laura and I were kind of wondering, I was 45 at the time. I don't want to go just kind of maintain what's going on. What is the vision, which was, pretty, you get here and you realize there's plenty to do, even without the Hope and Healing Center. But that was a bullet point. And so I think we'd been here about 2 years when we started saying, what does that mean? What does that kind of outreach in this zip code, 0056, 0057, 0024, we're not going to have a soup kitchen here. We're not going to have a clothes closet here. We're involved in all those ministries. We're involved in the homeless ministry and ministry to the hungry in our community and the underserved. And as you all know, we're very involved and committed to that. But what does it mean here? And so we just started meeting with coaches and teachers and doctors and therapists and saying, what would it look like if we built a center where faith and science and were not up against each other, but we actually shook hands and provided a ministry of healing to the community? And that would be things like recovery and support groups and things like therapeutic care. And now we're doing telepsychiatry and doing research, as we're doing at Hope and Healing Center, on things like aging. And so what started with that kind of nimble embryonic vision, and many of the leaders in the parish got on board pretty quickly, many of whom are here today. And we started with one director and one assistant, Scott Basinger and his assistant. And at that point, it was coming off the church's budget for a long time, and slowly moved into its own organization, where it's its own separate 501c3 and has its own board, has a staff of almost 30 now, and has a budget of nearly $3 million. Have I got that right, George? It's about $3 million. And it does incredible work now. People were served last year. Over 200 zip codes were served by the Hope and Healing Center. Thousands of people every month are served by the services there at no charge. So it's just but that, to me, that's the secret sauce of St. Martin's, really. The rector or whomever comes up with that idea, and then you get out of the way, and then you all do it. Which is, my friends say, how does, I said, it's basically the church. They basically said, well, that was okay. Now you go do what you do, and we'll take it from here. And so the church is great about making things happen.
Well, it's a multi-generational, life-changing experience for so many people. And it's fun to think back about sort of its genesis. I want to turn now to preaching a bit. You're a good preacher, Russ.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to.
Thank you.
If no one else has ever told you that. This is a note from Mike Hill, Bishop Mike Hill, and he says, to have had the privilege of sitting at your feet, listening to you give exposition to God's word has taught me much. To quote Garrison Keillor, I don't know that he had a book in the Bible, but to quote Garrison Keillor, you have an amazing ability to put the hay where the goats can get it.
That's great.
To put the hay where the goats can get it. The gift of being able to put biblical truth, sometimes hard truth, in a way that is both clear and challenging is rare indeed. Jim Jackson writes, each of your messages has been unique, but they have had a single underlying theme: to proclaim the gospel of grace and gently encourage people to lay claim to it. It is a nail you have hammered week by week. Talk a little bit about your preaching, because I feel like, and I've told you this many times, I feel like you're just preaching to me when I'm sitting in that sanctuary. There's all those folk, and I just feel like you're talking just to me. And that's been so special, and I think everybody else feels the same way. But talk about the importance of preaching and
You want to do that one?
No, I want you to do it. Preach about it.
One of my longtime mentors, who you heard me quote from the pulpit many times, John Claypool, was a great preacher. And Laura and I were, fortunate to be in his church before I worked at his church, really. And Laura used to say, when we heard John preach, she said, it's almost like he went out and bought a present, wrapped it up, and gave it to me every week. And he always wrapped it up. And I was called as his associate after being chaplain at Swanee. And John was well known for his preaching, and we were going into the early service, which is 7:30 service then. And I remember John looking at me, and it was a great mentor's way of saying, you don't have to be me, which was helpful. But John said, we're lined up. There aren't many people who came to that early service, but I was nervous, and he could tell. And he said, treat it like a gift. You've gone out, you've thought about the gift, you bought the gift, you wrapped it up, you're going to give it to them. Some people like the gift. Some people open it and love that gift. Other people will probably want to return it. He said, you've done your part if you've prepared. And often I'm preaching to myself. I mean, the things you hear about me say from the pulpit are often things that I'm struggling with. And so, but I do enjoy it.
So, Laura, I do want to ask you, because one of the things Russ said in Pensacola was that we asked about how much he preached about the community and society and things going on in the world. And he said, I'm just going to preach about the Bible and about Jesus. I am guessing over all these years when he has strayed and read sermons to you and started to move off course that you've brought him back to Jesus and preaching the Bible.
Well, yes, I would say that's probably true. I mean, he already is good at that. But in the times we've lived through so many times when it would be very tempting to stand up in front of the church and really give your own opinions about how you feel about different things going on in the national church and in the country and in the world. And but that doesn't really, I don't think, change people's souls and help them get into heaven. That's beautiful. I mean, I'm not sure I had that much to do with it, but I used to call it the Great Eye from Lord of the Rings. And you don't cause the Great Eye to come to St. Martin's and cause problems. That would be like the national church saying, we don't like that you said that, or we don't, and so stay off the radar with those kind of entities and just do your thing. And that's what he did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, every now and then I would think about writing an editorial and I would, on something.
Thank you.
And I would write, and I'd write about Lauren. Laura said, do you want those people in the parking lot on Sunday morning holding signs? I said, no, I guess I don't. So, okay.
That's right.
Whoever those people were.
Okay, Laura, I'm coming to you on this. Bishop Mike Hill goes on to say, in all this, dear Laura is an amazing support. The way you speak to her, Russ, the way you speak to her and the way you speak of her has been wonderful. To raise your family together in a rectory is always a challenge, which you have faithfully and dutifully carried out together. Laura, your support for Russell has been utterly foundational, on which he has been able to achieve all that he has done. Outside of clergy families, few understand the cost on clergy spouses. I love the way you bring the best out of each other. Max Lucado, in speaking of both of you, says, you have taught the word of God, you have loved the people of God, and you have followed the ways of God. Laura, just reflect for a minute on all that you experience, as a rector's spouse and all that you've been involved with. Just so many things. You're always present.
It is so many things. It's just the way we started out, and I mean, he told me when he asked me to marry him, he said, now, I don't know what the future is going to hold. And all I knew is I did not want to be a preacher's wife. The one thing, and I had made that so clear to all my friends. And but I loved him, and I knew that God wanted us together. And then it became evident that God also wanted him in his corner in a big way. And it's so funny because I was telling my daughter this last night, but you know, we just always looked forward, like, what's the next thing going to be? And we were just kind of so dumb. We just trusted. You know, we just, oh, it's all going to be okay.
You were like us goats.
And we always had a good time. We know we moved a lot. I mean, a lot. And our kids just came right on with us. And I think there's good things about that and not good things, but we just always feel like we were a strong family, and that was important to me, especially, just making that as normal as I could so that he could go do what he needed to do. But, you know, I think no matter what he did in his life, I would have been in the church, because just what is important to me. So.
That's awesome. You are so special and so dear to all of us. Okay, I'm going to go now to our presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church of the United States, Michael Curry. He says of Russ, he talks of many things, but he says, but I have also appreciated just talking through ideas of mission. I'm sure there was some political stuff in there, ideas of mission and ministry, and have witnessed the many ways in which you, through your presence and your writings, have inspired the wonderful people of St. Martin's and many others to follow Jesus more intentionally and live out his way of love in an often hurting and conflicted world. So Russ, how do you, what advice do you have for St. Martin's in terms of just dealing with societal issues, church politics? How do we stay on the right course?
Who's coming to the 11:15?
Oh, is this part of the sermon? Okay.
Yeah. That's a longer answer. And
Okay.
It'll be at the 11:15.
All right.
So if you missed it, look up the recording later. But I will say about Michael Curry, I mean, you know, he's certainly, we've talked about some of our differences. But I think the church was getting to a place where it was really very deeply divided when he became presiding bishop. The church has always been divided. I mean, there have always been troubles with the church. But the first time I heard him preach was at General Convention when he was elected. And when he got through, I went, oh my goodness, the good Lord just gave us a presiding bishop. And he has preached faithfully, mostly about Jesus and coming in relationship with Jesus. But I also knew when I came, as you remember, that the church here was not necessarily excited about the larger church. Some folks wanted to break away. I did say we were not going to do that. And then Michael Curry came, and some of you will remember, I thought I'm going to take a risk and bring screens into the church the Sunday after he was elected, and I'm going to play for the church his sermon. And I did. I think Laura thought, well, I'll go find the boxes. And and he preached this incredible sermon, and we cut it off. And I remember saying to you, and that's our new presiding bishop. And you all broke out in applause. And pray to God, because we elect another one this summer, that God will give us somebody like that again. But I think keeping your eye on the ball is something I'll talk about at 11:15. So.
Awesome, thank you. Hey, talk for. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm gonna extend our time here a little bit. Talk about mentors. Don't look at your watch. Don't do that. You've preached about mentors.
Yeah.
And their importance in your life, and the opportunity for all of us to be a mentor, whether we know it or not. Talk just a little bit about the importance of that.
Yeah, I mean, Laura's been a mentor. My dad's here. He's my first mentor. I've worked for some really wonderful men. It's a biblical model. Timothy had Paul. You look to people who've been down the road. You've been a mentor. John Claypool was a mentor. John Stott was a mentor. And even now, after I made this decision, I called Max Lucado, who's got a mentor. I called Jim Jackson. I called Dave Peterson. All of them kind of walked me through what they felt like these months would look like. And it helps me kind of and though I will not be hiring any more clergy for St. Martin's, though we've hired 2 this week. And you're going to love them. You're going to love them. But I have said, I've hired people that didn't have a mentor before, and it didn't work out well. They say, oh, my mentor are my buddies that I hang around with. That's not your mentor. Yeah. You know, your mentor is somebody who's older, wiser, been down the road, made the mistakes, and can help you through them. So
That's great. Thank you.
Laura's not older, and she hasn't made any mistakes. But other than that, she's still a mentor.
Excellent.
And it is a responsibility of all of us to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I'm looking at the letter from Dave Peterson, and everybody, if you think of the one question that has been repeated the most, Richard, I'm looking at you leading the transition committee, and Michael Donaldson leading the search committee, and co-chair Bobby Reeves. The number one question, without doubt, has been, what the heck are you going to do next? I mean, what in the heck are you going to do next? And Dave Peterson said it better in his note. He notes the Apostle Paul's words from Acts 20:24. He says, he quotes, "But I do not count my life of any value to myself, if only I may finish my course in the ministry that I received from the Lord Jesus, to testify to the good news of God's grace." If I only may finish my course. So how are you going to finish your course once you leave here? And Laura, I have the same question for you. So how are you going to finish your course?
I said something a few weeks ago at the COS group when I thanked them for how wonderful they had been, looking at Anna, who's one of the co-chairs of that group. And I said we had been here 17 years, but I was coming up on my 40th anniversary as a husband. And Laura and I got home and we spent over half our marriage here. Almost half. Yeah, and almost that. And I want to spend more time here because this goes by fast. And I've buried your loved ones, some before that I wanted to. We don't have as many days in front of us as we have behind us, perhaps. My kids are here, and I want to spend more time with them. My daughter's given me 2 incredible grandchildren, and I'm going to spend more time with them. The granddaughter's 10, so I'm 2 years away from her saying, "Get out of my room, you creepy old man." So right now, she still wants me around, I think. And I will say, I have a wonderful partner in this ministry, and it has not always been easy. My children have often carried the burden. We are just like you, believe it or not. We get up against each other every now and then. We can have some pretty good knockdown, drag-outs. That's usually because of the loss of energy and just, busyness and stuff like that. It's usually not the other stuff. So I look forward to kind of brushing that out of the way and having that. I'm going to write some more. I'm working on a fun book. Some of you know about. We haven't picked the title yet, but it's interviews with people who have attained some measure of fame, success, and they're still Christians. And a lot of people have said yes. Some won't surprise you because you know some of them who've been here. Amy Grant, Gary Sinise, Sam Waterston, all of whom who've been here. Jim Nance has said yes. And I'm sitting down with him at the end of May. My favorite has been Denzel Washington, who called me on my phone, and I thought it was a joke. And one morning when I was coming to church, this was about 2 months ago, and I picked up and he said, "Hello." I said, "Hello." I said, "Who is this?" He goes, "It's Denzel." And I went, "This is my busy day, Sunday." And he goes, I know. We're going to make this happen. So we're we're meeting in July, and he's going to give an interview by his faith. So I hope about this time next year we'll be through. Probably be about 12 discussions, but that'll be fun. And I want people to know that these folks who have everything the world offers you, and yet still get down on their knees and say their prayers.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful, I've already interviewed Condi Rice, and I got through with that interview, and we did it on Zoom, but as soon as I hung up, I called Laura and I went, oh my gosh, I have so far to go. She is such a wonderful Christian woman. So.
That's awesome. Laura, how about you? How will you finish your course?
Well, I'm probably going to continue. It's going to sound like St. Francis, but I'm just going to continue in my garden. Just keep, I love that. That's my passion. But I also do a lot of crafty things, and I want to get back to sewing, things that I've kind of put on the back burner for a long time. Of course, family, will be back in the quadrant where like my college friends are there, high school friends. And so I think there'll be a lot of reconnecting, and I have a huge family in Tennessee. So we'll be getting to go to family reunions now, and I mean, I look forward to those kind of personal things, and I do think just I don't know. See, I think putzing around is kind of fun, so I don't mind that.
That's good.
I don't have to be doing something all the time. We'll probably tend to travel as well,
Good.
and I'll be back quite a bit to Houston for garden club events and things like that.
Good.
So
That's awesome.
I'll be carrying her purse.
Yeah, exactly.
my
Okay,
potting
so
bucket.
I'm gonna conclude in just a second, and then we have a few special presentations that we're going to do, and but they tell sportscasters and news reporters and moderators, I suppose, not to talk over a moment. Don't let the moment be the moment. Don't talk over a moment. And so I'm going to close with 3 letters. And I'm going to do my best not to talk over them. I'm just going to let these letters be special to you, a gift, and I hope they're special to you. I know they will be. The first letter I'm going to read in its entirety, it's from President George Bush. He says, I recently read your letter, and by the way, his handwriting is just terrible. It's worse than mine. And see, I just talked over it. I just screwed up the moment. Oh my God. Okay, that's it for talking over the moment. The moment's the moment. I recently read your letter to the St. Martin's family. I hope you understand what a wonderful job you have done presenting the word and growing the church. Congratulations on a job well done. Thank you also for befriending Mom and Dad. They appreciated your leadership and your friendship. As you join the newly retired, don't hesitate to pick up a paintbrush. With best wishes, George Bush. This next letter is from the former Archbishop of Canterbury, George Carey, who we had the opportunity to share so much time with. He writes first, central to his gifted ministry has been his unswerving faith, Russ's unswerving faith in the gospel of Jesus Christ and total dedication to making disciples and changing lives. He goes on to say, when reflecting on Russ, into my mind, he says, flashed a section of Rudyard Kipling's poem, If. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. I'm going to close with Jim Bakker's letter. He says, quite simply, you have been a portrait of what the Apostle Paul meant in 1 Timothy 4, 6 through 16, when he presented 11 characteristics for being an excellent minister of Christ. You have been a beacon for the Lord God, a compassionate rector who has delivered wisdom, comfort, care, and hope, as well as humor to so many of us. He goes on, but the Spirit of the Lord that the two of you have nourished at St. Martin's will burn brightly for a very, very long time, as will your legacy here. He concludes, as I would like to conclude our time here together, with the following: with our thanks, our love, and God's blessing. Most sincerely, James Baker. We love you, Russ and Laura, and I would ask that you all join me in a standing ovation.
So sweet.
All right.
Are we through?
I think so.
We through?
We're through. We're done.
I'm going to do my thank yous in church, so you still have to come to church. Thank you.
Oh, hang on. We got a few more fun things. Thanks. Yeah.
We can't hear you.
I'm Richard Nelson. I was asked to chair the transition committee, and I wasn't given a whole lot of guidance on what it was going to entail, but it's been about the best couple of months of my life, to put all this together for you guys. Before we get started on doing the fun job, which is handing out some really cool gifts that a lot of people have worked hard on, I want to take a moment that we wouldn't be here today, tonight, anything, without Russ's staff. They just, and I want to have a big round of applause for them. Also want to thank Scott. I had a lot of people reach out to me with ideas of what they wanted this thing to look like. The whole thing with the letters was Scott's idea. But he did different from everybody else. He said, and I'll handle it. And I went. I said, beautiful. I don't need anything else on my plate. All right, it's my fun time now we get to hand out some gifts. And I'd like to ask, first of all, to come up, Sherry Perkins, please.
Dear Laura, it is my honor and pleasure to present a gift to you from our beloved St. Martin's Parish. This faux bois bench honors your love of nature and gardening. It will be delivered to your new home in Birmingham as a reminder of how much you are loved and how much your 17-year ministry here at St. Martin's is appreciated. A plaque will be added to it that reads, "Given to the glory of God in thanksgiving for the ministry of Laura Levenson, St. Martin's Episcopal Church, 2007 to 2024. We love you and will miss you big. We wish you happiness and joy as you continue to thrive in our Lord's plan throughout this new adventure. May you experience many beautiful sunsets and God's exquisite creation as you enjoy this bench." And it sounds like Russ is going to be pretty nearby, so you can let him sit on it with you when you want to. We love you. Thank you.
George Francisco.
So back in 2012 or 2013, an incredibly talented portrait artist by the name of David Larnan became known to Russ and the St. Martin's leadership. David and his wife Sarah were spending some time in Houston, but they still called Pennsylvania home. It was then St. Martin's commissioned the portraits of our previous three rectors, Tom Bagby, who was the founding rector and served for 31 years between 1952 and 1983. Claude Payne, who's on the left there, who served for 10 years between 1983 and 1993 and went on to be the 7th Bishop of Texas. And then, of course, Larry Gibson from 1994 to 2007, 13 years. Since then, the artist David and his wife Sarah have moved to Houston. Their daughter Sadie attended St. Martin's Preschool, and they've developed many friends here in the Houston community. So we're pleased to announce that we've again commissioned David to paint a portrait of our fourth rector, which we're excited about. And given Russ and Laura's pending move here, Russ and David have already spent some time together. The wheels are in motion, and the portrait should be expected in early next year. So obviously we're all excited for Russ's portrait to hang alongside those of our previous rectors in Bagby Parish Hall. Thank you, Russ, for initiating the portrait tradition here at St. Martin's and for leading this amazing parish family for 17 years.
Our next presenter is Logan Walters, who's another one who emailed me with an idea, and I went, Logan, I ain't got nothing in this area. He said, I'll take care of it. Logan.
So Russ, we have 3 gifts for you today. In the audience, you can hold your applause until the last one. So as you know, Texans are very proud of our state. And we count you and Laura both as Texans, given the 17 years you've spent here. However, we also know Alabama is home. And given your family ties, we wanted to tie in both states to this. So first, we have a Texas flag, which was flown over our state's capital in honor of your 17 years of service to and retirement from St. Martin's Church, along with a certificate signed by Governor Greg Abbott recognizing your service. Now, as a note, Governor Abbott is 66 years old and just announced he's running for his 4th term. He's in his 3rd term now. You're 61, right? Oh, 62. Okay, okay. So second, to be fair and balanced, we reached out to the office of Governor Kay Ivey of Alabama, who also provided a certificate in recognition of your 17 years of service and retirement from St. Martin's as a welcome home to you from the state of Alabama. Now, as a note, Governor Ivey is 79 and serving her 2nd term as governor. Russ, I don't actually have a punchline for these sort of age jokes, so I'm just poking you a bit. And finally, because we all know that you love our wonderful country, thanks to Senator John Cornyn's office, a United States flag will be fluttering over our nation's capital in Washington, D.C. today in honor of your 17 years of service to and retirement from St. Martin's Church. That flag will be delivered to you along with a note from Senator Cornyn in the coming weeks. And as a final note, Senator Cornyn is 72 and he's in his 21st year in office. I'm just saying. So while these are just flags and letters in some sense, in all seriousness, these gifts are intended to remind you of how we feel about you as a parish. Through your dedication to our Lord Jesus Christ during your 17 years here, we can see that God has blessed your work not only at this church, but across our great state and nation. and we hope and pray that he will continue to bless you and Laura in your retirement.
Thank you, Logan. That was awesome. And the final gift, Tommy Ford.
Okay, well, I had a 30-minute speech prepared, but Russ and Laura may be leaving, but Barbara Piana is still to me here. I do not want to get on her bad side. First thing, just real quick, I want to say thank you to Richard. The best move that the vestry ever made was asking Richard to take this job, and really, really appreciate it. He's done a lot of work, a lot more than what you've seen here. So, and he's going to continue to do a lot of work as we move through this transition, just so you know. Okay, so I think at this time we're going to invite all of the wardens, senior wardens that have served Russ in his 17-year term here. Just you'll begin making your way up here, and as you do, I just want to say that on behalf of the congregation, all of the vestries that have served with you, Russ, and especially your loving and devoted St. Martin's staff, in recognition and in thanks of the loving care that you have given all of us during your term, and in recognition and with thanks of the strong emphasis that you place in your personal ministry on sharing the love of Jesus through pastoral care acts, not just in your preaching and teaching, but, and we really appreciate this, your sacrificial and tireless efforts on our behalf in pastorally caring for us. It's our honor on behalf of the parish to let you know and to announce to the parish the naming of the Pastoral Care Center building as the Levenson Pastoral Care Center. And things are about to get heavy here because I think we've got it digitally, but Richard and your staff actually carried the 400-pound cornerstone, and not really, into the church. And so we've got it here for you to see. So thank you. God bless you. God bless you and Laura. God bless you and your family. I say we go praise and worship our Lord and give thanks to the Levensons and the Levensons family, and Russ can say thank you at the announcement. Is that good with you? Okay. Thank you all. Appreciate it.